or have a realization.
Having responsibilities to one another and to the world, to the future.
Like in the Matrix. when Neo awakes.
We may not have that level of technology.
Oh, who knows? Maybe we are actually aliens, and we actually went into a computer program, a game that's like a lifespan of a human.
Well, the Hindus say we're in a dream.
Yeah, it could be. Anything is possible, right? But think about it. Maybe it's like, so for example, when you go to sleep, and then you awake inside the dream. Have you awoken inside the dream? Yeah. So when you awake inside the dream, and then you see a little bit more clearer where you are, what's happening, right? So it's a little bit like that. Inside, when we're awake here, it's actually like a dream. And then when you awake, maybe it's confusing.
Well, I think that might bring on less attachment to the material world, to consumerism. That when we do indeed realize it's a dream, we can enjoy it more for like moment to moment. So in sort of that at that angle, you know, are we required to awaken as a global population to?
Okay, it's very, very interesting. Okay, for example, like Buddhism, like you can attain emptiness, right? So when you attain emptiness, you get a realization and understanding. So that could be a kind of awakening, okay? And talking about like the whole population, there is a theory. It's called the 100th monkey syndrome. I think they did an experiment with monkeys where they realized that a certain species, like they all discover the same thing when a certain number knows something. So like with the monkeys, they had these sweet potatoes and they would throw it in the water and then put it on the sand. So the monkeys would try to eat the potato, but it would be crunchy. And they would eat it anyways because it was delicious. But then one monkey realized that if you put it inside the water, it didn't have any more sand. And then in one island, all the monkeys started doing it. And after 100 monkeys, or a certain number of monkeys, started washing their potatoes in the water, then suddenly all of the monkeys in the whole archipelago started doing the same. So in a way, maybe, well, I'm sure of it actually, that if a certain number of humans reach certain realizations, we automatically create the cause for everybody else, for it to be easier for them to actually reach that realization. So we can change the world by changing ourselves. If we practice, if we change ourselves and actually are not lazy as me, actually work hard, then you can actually help many other people just by working on yourself. Because if there's a connection, there's like a collective consciousness or a collective memory of humankind, or I don't know. And so a certain number of people who have a good heart and are doing good things, you actually kind of affect or influence people to do the same. Right now, for example, I think one of the main causes for problems and all this is because people overvalue negativity way more than positiveness. There's too much, like for example, like if somebody says something harsh words, some bad thing, you remember that for a long time. But if maybe they can say good things many times and maybe you barely remember it. Like, I don't know, there's an example I like to use a lot. It's like, for example, a mother who raises her children, maybe 7 children, all by herself, takes them through university, everything, and she doesn't come on the newspaper. You don't see her in the newspaper. And she's probably worked for 20 years, single, working, taking care of her children, everything. And you won't see it in the newspaper. But if a mother kills her son, you will see it in the front line. So that's what I mean when I say they overvalue negativity. When you turn on the news, most of the stuff people want to watch is negative. Maybe they don't want to watch, but at least that's what they put. That's what they show, because it's like more interesting. You know, when you see an accident or something bad happen, then it's like very important. But the good stuff, it doesn't really, maybe it does come out, but people don't really give it so much importance. If you switch that around, if you actually give a lot of importance to the positive stuff, and the negative stuff you just kind of don't really give much importance, automatically the positive will flower.
Thank you. First, I just really feel to say, I can only imagine what it must be like to grow up and live such expectation and projections that people must have of yourself, being reincarnation and all the expectation and projection I must bring. So I just want to show my respect and recognition of that as well.
Thank you.
Coming and speaking with us.
Thank you. Especially as a Western person, because for Tibetans it's much easier. For Westerner, I don't know why, but our minds are just like all over the place.
Yeah. So, I say that in light of the flow of my question, which I say with full respect. It's, you spent many years in a monastery following Buddhism, and yet you speak of, you still experience laziness, confusion, and
Absolutely.
a lack of self-knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So, for some of us who may be considering a Buddhist path, we may feel that quite discouraging.
No, that should be very encouraging.
So my question is really to maybe hear a bit about that, and in all that time that you spent and continue to spend maybe learning and on the Buddhist path, what's been the greatest discovery or something that you know absolutely that you were sure of?
Actually, I'm very happy you brought that out, because maybe for me, I think it's encouraging, but if it's discouraging for you, it's good that you tell me, so I can clear that up. So it's very different, because for me, as a person, from my experience, it's very different from your experience. You're coming from another place than from me. I came from a place where all I knew was Buddhism. I didn't know anything else. That's why. And that's the only reason why. I'm not saying it didn't work for me or it didn't help me. It was just all I knew. So it's very different. It shouldn't be discouraging, because it's normal. Somebody wants to know what's out there, you want to discover. But the fact that I'm here right now should mean everything. Right? I'm here because I'm very interested in Buddhism. That's why I'm here, and I really want to actually improve as a person. Otherwise, I'd probably be partying somewhere in Ibiza.
What about transcending the person?
Sorry?
What about transcending the person?
What do you mean by transcending?
So you want to become a better person?
Yes.
Does Buddhism speak at all about transcension of the person, the personal aspect?
Transcending? What do you mean by that?
Transcending the person, well, just to explore if we're aiming to become a better person, then how does that help us discover our true nature?
Difficult question, huh? Maybe I should pass the microphone to someone. I think the first step is always to love yourself, right? To try to be comfortable with yourself. To be able to spend time with yourself and be comfortable. That's the first step. Then to love yourself, to actually treat yourself well. Eat healthy, do exercise, meditate, practice at least a minimal control of your mind. Those second step. Right? So first you have to take those 2 steps, and then afterwards you can start taking the rest of the steps. And also, inside life, the more you want for yourself, the more you will suffer. The more you want for other people, the happier you are. That's the law of the universe, or it's just like, that's how it works. The more you think about yourself, the more you will suffer. So the more I want something, the more I crave for something, the more I will suffer. But the more I want to offer somebody else what I want, the happier I will be. Because just by seeing how happy it makes them, that just fills me up completely.
Is it also your experience?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, my experience. I'm talking only from my experience. I don't really like to talk from books or like that. I'm learning, so what I know right now is what I've experienced. Eventually, I probably will maybe talk about more deep Dharma. But personally, I see like my mission is not so much teaching Dharma. I don't see that as my mission. I see my mission more as creating interest in people who will never be in contact with the Dharma. That's more my mission. And then once they have an interest in Dharma, then there's many teachers to teach them that. You know, for me that's my mission, because there's many people who are completely lost, like who will never have any contact with Dharma, and they will never even think about picking up a Dharma book or going to teachings or even trying meditation or anything, because that's just so far away from their reality. So far away. And I've been to those dimensions, or to those worlds. I've been with all kinds of levels of people inside society, like from junkies to like all kinds of levels, you know, and I've seen it, and I've tried to help them, and I've talked to them. And I don't know, it's just like, if you talk to them in a very basic, easy, simple way, at least you create an interest in saying, okay, there's more to life than what I'm living right now. So that's my mission, is to create that interest, to say, okay, maybe there's something more. So that's why for me it's not so important right now to study Dharma, because I don't feel like that's my mission right now. Maybe eventually I'll be able to do that, but right now I have to learn about Dharma myself, you know, before I even start teaching it or sharing about it. So that's basically how I feel, you know. Yes.
A small question about your passion, your profession. So, how do you have a process to decide what's going to be your next subject for a movie or documentary? Do you have one? Or?
Yeah, I had this subject for the past 2 years, but I haven't really had time or energy yet. I'm waiting for the right moment. But I want to make a documentary that talks about emptiness, the Buddhist point of view of emptiness, and the scientific point of view of quantum mechanics, and how those two paths are actually crossing each other today, from spirituality and science, which in the past were completely separate. They're so far apart, and now they're actually linked. They're actually the same. They're actually talking about the same thing. So I think that's so interesting, and I was thinking maybe making a documentary talking about that with like scientists and Buddhist teachers, talking about that, and then also having digital animation to kind of like describe in a better sense, so that we can understand. That's kind of my idea, but it's still in the process.
So you're really much into physics and everything about space as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Yes, you were then 12 years in the monastery and 12 years in the world. Do you have a feeling for yourself that you have sort of found a balance, or have been able to integrate the Buddhist monk part in you with your experiences in the world?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I have found a certain balance where I feel comfortable with myself now, and I feel like I can actually be of help. Because up to now I was just complete chaos inside of myself. Chaos. But that's not bad, because that's what we need to learn. We have to feel that we have a lot to learn, so we can actually take those baby steps. And every time we fall, we get up again, we are stronger, we're wiser, and we can do it better. So right now, I've been away for 12 years. And I think right now I'm 30. So maybe right now it's a good moment in my life to actually start practicing Dharma. And actually doing something.
And in your family, all your brothers and sisters, they have remained Buddhist, or they are practicing?
Yeah, I mean, my mother and my father are both Buddhists. I don't have any brothers or sisters who are Buddhists, but they all have huge hearts. So, for me, they're Buddhists. Yeah.
Has it happened more often in the modern times that Westerners have been recognized as incarnations, as far as you know?
Yeah, I know Canadian reincarnation, French. There's American. There's a lot of Brazilian reincarnation. there are many Western reincarnations.
I wanted to know, when you ran away from the monastery, did you also run away from Buddhism and the Dharma, or just the monk life?
Yeah, everything. Yes.
But you seem to have kept practicing, and it seems that the Dharma still has an important role in your life.
I think Dharma saved my life, you know, because of my education, of the information I had. It really helped me in every situation where it was a huge challenge. Dharma was there, and I had that information, so it was much easier for me to understand what was happening and how to cope with it, and how to kind of transform. So yes, thanks to Dharma, for me it has been a huge help, huge. I think without that, I don't know what would have happened. I would probably, I don't know, be somewhere else. Yes.
It's really refreshing to hear you speak.
Thank you.
I used to see a guy, a showman called Imaho, and he spoke in similar ways to you about life and using the Dharma, but working from the Western point of view. So it's really nice to hear that, because I've come here for the first time, and I'm in confusion in my mind about Buddhism and everything, but it's really nice to hear that you can still work that without actually, well, I don't know, I suppose it's lovely what you said about your brothers having a big heart, because that's what I got from hearing from TENZIN yesterday. Was the main thing is about bringing the heart into whatever you do in your life.
Yeah.
And thank you for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes.
Related to suffering, at the beginning of your topic, I found myself, like when I'm in one mind, it's very clear. It's not suffering. Either it's good or bad, it doesn't matter. But in hesitation or indecisive state, I found it's really tiring or very, kind of spiritually painful. Why do we hesitate, you think? And what is a good action to take, get out of the hesitation or being indecisive?
Very good question. Very good question. I think doubt is something that we have all the time, because there's a lot of information we don't know. So then there's always doubt. And not only that, but our mind thinks a lot. So many times we believe our mind, but our mind is not based on the fact. It's not based on reality. So that creates even more doubt. Because we believe our mind, and then when we see the reality and we say, hey, that's not correct. So that creates more confusion. So I think for me at least what worked is when you reach a crossroad, for example, the best thing to do is to sit down. When you don't know if to go right, to go left, to go straight, you don't know which way to go, what to do, sit down. Sit down, relax, breathe, and just see what sign life gives you.
If you were English, you'd make a cup of tea.
Exactly. Exactly.
I'm not English.
Where are you from?
Australia.
Yeah, so that's what works for me. Many times when I'm confused and I don't know what I want or where I want to go or how I want to do something, then I just stop. I try to stop thinking, I try to stop doing anything, and I just wait. And most of the times life will give me a sign. And then, starting from then I'll start to think about maybe this is the right direction. But once you make a decision, you should never regret. Because if you make a mistake, it's good. Because you learn from that mistake. And then you can improve and you can help other people who are going through the same thing. And if you did the right thing, then you just continue, right? But a bumpy road is good, because that makes you stronger. It makes you wiser. It's not the same, for example, let's say, if you go from here to Dharamsala, by bus, or by rickshaw, or by taxi. You know, you go from here to there, you reach there in maybe 10-15 minutes, maybe even you can fall asleep in the car. And you reach your destination and that's it. But then, like maybe tomorrow somebody says, hey, how do I get from TUSHITA to Dharamsala? And let's say there are no cars. Then how you can't really tell them how to get there because you don't know. Because you took the easiest path. But if you actually walk from here to Dharamsala and you enjoy the whole scenery, it's not easy, it's difficult of course. Maybe you suffer a little bit, maybe you enjoy also, both. But when you get there, if somebody asks you, hey, how do I get there? You can show them exactly how to get there. You can even describe to them each crossroad. Okay, when you see that, and you turn right, and you turn left, blah, 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 like that. So it's a little bit like a metaphor in life, you know. If you choose the easy path, where you make no mistakes, where everything is, then you will eventually, you won't be able to help people as much. You know, because you're not wise enough to really understand what they're going through. But if you've gone through that, then you can actually understand their situation and you can tell them exactly what they need to hear. So I think our purpose in life is to help other people. So that's why I'm saying, you know, it's important to make mistakes.
Quería preguntarte, yo quería, I need to speak in Spanish because
Vale.
yo quería agradecerte realmente la dimensión humana que das a todo esto, ¿no? Porque me hace sentirme, como decirlo, con tranquilidad, con confianza, ¿no? Ver esta humanidad, ver a un hombre que está realizándose como hombre y contando todo lo que necesita experimentar. O sea, que te puedo dar las gracias.
Muchísimas gracias. Gracias.
Quería comentarte que me ha venido un poquito la idea, sin por supuesto es comparación de Jesucristo, ¿no? Que realmente cómo pasó desde su infancia, pasó su infancia y después tuvo unos años de transición en el desierto, ¿no? Y luego apareció a los 20 y pico años, apareció con todo el mensaje que tiene que dar. Realmente me ha habido mucha esa imagen, ¿no? Realmente esa riqueza de poder andar por el desierto y poder andar por el infierno. O sea, que gracias.
A ti, muchísimas gracias a ti. Yeah, so I think there was a question somewhere over there. Yeah. I didn't understand the joke.
What did he say?
What did he say? Oh. I didn't feel I should translate because it makes my ego very big. It's just saying thank you for my humanity. And it makes him feel, was it comfortable?
For me it's very important to have already a mirror where I can see myself like human. In that way, you know. It makes me easier to life. It makes me easier to mistake, because I mistake also, no? It makes me easier. That is what I like.
Thank you. Sorry about my bad translation. It's completely another thing. Yes.
Well, it's on the same lines. I was just seconding what this lady at the front said before, that it's wonderful. And the question that came from here that was saying that it's discouraging with all due respect, I feel like that's focusing, like you said, more on the negative than the positive. And I think this is a very important lesson for us to see that we are all human. That's all we have is our humanity. And when you talk about transcending the personal, I'm a Buddhist, but my base understanding of the teachings is that isn't the point. It's that we all are Buddha by nature. We don't have to come outside of ourselves. It's all right here. So I think it's just wonderful to hear you.
Thank you, thank you. I mean, life is a challenge, and that's a beauty.
Well, yeah.
That's a beauty. Because if it wasn't a challenge, then what's the point?
I'm worried.
You know, if you're just chilling all day. Actually, you suffer more when you chill too much. It's like sleeping. When you sleep a little bit, you enjoy it so much. But if you sleep like 10, 11 hours and your back starts hurting, you get up, you're like really groggy, you're like, really bad mood, where's my coffee? When you sleep 3-4 hours, you're like, or maybe 6 hours. Six I think is the minimum, right? At least you're a little bit fresh. You wake up early, okay. Maybe not the amount of hours, but at least the time you wake up in the morning. So when you wake up in the morning, say if you wake up with the sun around 7, 8, you wake up, you're fresh. But if you're lazy like me, and you wake up at 3 in the afternoon, and you're like, you're already in a bad mood the moment you get up, you're in a bad mood, because you lost the morning already. Right? So I mean, like, I don't get up because I'm lazy, but if I did get up at 7, then I would do so many things, and then by 3 I'd be so happy with myself. I'd be proud of myself, be like, wow, okay, I did this, I did that, blah, 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 blah. I would have a long list of things I've accomplished. But instead, if I get up at 3, then I didn't accomplish anything. But I did sleep well. But the problem is after, when you get up, when you have to get up, you have to, what do you call it? Assume your decision, or you have to confront. You have to confront your laziness or your bad decisions, you know, because sometimes we choose the easy path. You know, this, like my father used to say. He used to say, you really like the law of the least effort. That's how he used to describe me. So actually that doesn't really bring much happiness. It doesn't really, it's not fulfilling. You know, if you don't work hard for something, it's not so fulfilling. Then if you work hard for something, it's super fulfilling. And that's where really, life really brings you more challenges. And then you keep going. And all the time, it looks like you're so far away. And the more you work, it looks even further away, but you're always looking behind and you're like, wow, look where I came from. And that's what actually is fulfilling, is to see what you've accomplished, you know, at least in this life.
I want to know, was it your parents' choice to go to bring you to the monastery? And when you come out from there, how about your vows you did?
My what?
Your vows you gave as a monk.
My vows?
Your vows.
What about them?
Yeah, about.
Huh?
What is it? This is not.
What is it?
Yeah, when you left the monastery, you know.
Yeah, well, so before I left the monastery, I gave back my vows.
You gave back?
Yeah. Because I knew I wasn't coming back for a long time. Yeah, and actually, the monastery, I think it was a group decision of actually, you know, it was the best situation for me to grow up, and I'm very grateful for that decision, that I was able to grow up in a monastery. Because for many parents, it's very difficult to give up their children and say, okay, you know, we just leave them in the monastery and I don't really know much about them or what's going on or how they are. Maybe to visit them one time a year or something like that. So I don't think it was an easy decision for my parents, but I always thank them for their detachment. Because if they were attached, I would have never had the opportunity I had. You know, so I always thank them for that. Even though before I thought it was not a good decision. But that's the thing, you know, you always learn from your mistakes, you know. Like I made the mistake of thinking that maybe had I had a normal life, I would be happier. That's what I thought before. So, oh, maybe if I had grown up normal kid in a school with other friends, blah blah blah, I would be happy. But actually it's completely the opposite. You know, like I would actually probably be coming to the Dharma really thirsty, and I'd be wanting to learn as much as I can. So it's like a little bit like the opposite, you know. So we are attracted to, for example, if somebody says go away, then we're more attracted. And if they say come, we don't want to come. What was that called? The
two sides of the middles.
Yeah, the law of attraction.
Oh, yeah.
You know. So that's a little bit what happened to me. You know, like when I left, I thought, you know, that I had lost my childhood. But then actually, later on I realized that I had gained an amazing childhood, you know, because I learned so much. So I'm really, really, really grateful for all the people and everybody who was involved in that decision, you know, because it's just amazing. It gave me my life so much more meaning. And that way also I can help a lot of people to understand many things, which for me I have had a lot of difficulty understanding too.
Could people respect your choice, or did you have opposition, or?
Yeah, when I left, most people were not very happy with that decision. Yeah. So I had to live with that decision for a short time. I had to live with that decision. But then afterwards, people started to understand. And I'm very grateful for that.
How was it like going back there to the West? Back
Ah,
to the West?
it was crazy. Crazy. The first time I went to a discotheque, I didn't understand anything. It's like, okay, this is how people have fun. They go in a box, a closed box, full of smoke. The noise is so loud you can't even have a conversation. Everybody's so close you can't, okay, you're supposed to dance but you can't dance because you're like so constricted. And then I went to the bar, I said, can I have a Coca-Cola? And they said, with? And I'm like, no, just Coca-Cola? Huh? What? So I sat with my Coca-Cola and I watched all these weird, crazy people jumping around in the middle of this closed room full of smoke. And they couldn't even move, and with this noise it just hurt my ear, and after 10 minutes I went out and my ears were ringing and I smelled so bad, my clothes smelled really bad. It's like, these Westerners are completely crazy. They're nuts. This is how they enjoy themselves? I prefer so much more in the monastery when we have like chapshu or losa. 2 times a year we can put music, and we play cream board or ping pong. So much more fun. You don't have to pay money either. Free of charge.
Yeah, did you come to the point that you enjoy, for example, techno dancing or something?
Yeah, afterwards I started understanding a little bit better. And then I released, I also dance. But it was very difficult because of my ego, my self-consciousness. What do you call it?
Awareness.
Yeah, like, oh, people are gonna think I'm dancing weird, I'm gonna look like a freak, I'm gonna, like, all these thoughts would not let me really dance naturally, relax. So I would be like, just moving the shoulders, maybe if I move too much, it's gonna look bad. Self-conscious, a lot of self-conscious. So eventually I saw many people just like, they would be liberated. Be like, and be like, hey, I want to dance like them. Why can't I dance like them? So it took some time. I had to forget about everybody else. Yeah. As long as I thought about other people, then I'll be like, okay, I can't really be myself. Maybe that happens to other people, I don't know.
Related to what you just said, I had a different question, but just what you said. If you have a kid, how do you want to educate a kid? Like, if you lived a very disciplined life, early life.
Good question.
Now you're living very free.
Yeah.
Like,
good question.
Life. And if you, how would you?
Okay, for example, if I had a kid and I wanted him to eat his vegetables, how would I do it? So I would put delicious vegetables on my plate, and I'd give him no vegetables. I'd be like, vegetables so good. And he'd be like, hey, I want to try it. I'm like, no, you're not going to like it. I'm like, it's not for you. Vegetables are not for you. I'm like, no, I want some. No, but you're not going to like it. Really, I want some. Are you sure? Okay, I'll give you a little bit, but you're not going to like it. And I'm like, spinach. I love it. Give me more. Okay. Or for example, to learn how to read. Yeah. Maybe like nighttime storytelling. Yeah. So I'm reading a book, and in the most interesting part, I'm like, I'm tired. I'm going to sleep. Goodbye. Close the book, going, and the kid will be like, hey, but it's the most interesting part. You can't stop here. I'm like, well, if you knew how to read. If you knew how to read, then you would know what happened next. So you give him a reason to learn how to read. You don't tell him, oh, you have to read because if you don't read, blah, 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 blah. Or if they do something wrong, then you ask them, what do you feel? Do you feel this is right or wrong? What do you feel? Not what I think. What do you think? I think that's the best way to educate a kid, you know, like actually giving, but not too much freedom either. Too much freedom is not good. I've experienced that. From one extreme to the other extreme. Now I'm in the middle, thank God.